Welcome back to episode 55 of Canes Local. This week we'll take a look at a wrap of the Four Nations, Canes Leafs trade deadline, consistency issues for the Hurricanes, and much more coming up next. All right, so let's dive right into the Four Nations. A little bit of a wrap there before we get too deep into the Canes for this week. But Canada, U.S. again, another epic battle. But man, I tell you what, start of the game for Canada for sure was Jordan Bennington. I think he was the reason the game turned out the way it did. But I think we all in the universe know that Jacob Slavin was the MVP of that tournament. But didn't get the accolades, but I think he was close. US wins, he wins the award. But what are your takeaways from the final game?
I mean, the U.S. needs to. We don't have. There's a difference between. Here's the difference between U.S. and Canada. Our our depth is better than Canada's is. But our top end talent is just not as good as Canada's top end talent. Canada has a different level. I think our D1 and their D1 can be comparable. Cale Makar is a lot more offensive than Slavin is, but Slavin is also a lot more defensively strong than Cale Makar is. So, I mean, you can kind of flip-flop the two of those as just like kind of a one-for-one swap. Outside of that, I mean, Nathan McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, Conor McDavid, arguably three of the best players in the world. And it's hard to argue outside of that. And then you throw Cale Makar in there, he's in the top 5 as well too. So it's like you have 4 of the 5 best players, and that's the difference in this tournament. Is look who scored the game-winning goal after having a terrible game. I didn't think Conor McDavid did much all game, and even he said that in his post game. He said, "I didn't do anything all game," but he got one opportunity, and it's in the back of the net. And it's just that's the difference. And I love Austin Matthews. I think he is a very, very good talent, but he's maybe a top 10, top 15 talent where you have top 5 talents. The top 3 players in the world are all playing on the same team. It just comes to show like they're a different level. There are very few guys that belong in a different league, and three of the 4 or 5 guys that actually belong in a different league were all playing on one team. So it's like it's hard to say the U.S. could have done anything better because I thought they played a perfect game playing against that team, and it was defensively strong, and it was led by Jacob Slavin. But at the end of the day, I don't know why we didn't shorten the bench, and I don't know why Adam Fox was playing, but Adam Fox goes from the guy down low to the guy in the corner. And then Matthews thinks that he's got to take the guy in the corner. There's nobody covering the man in front of the net. It's just scramble mode in the D zone. And if I'm Mike Sullivan, I'm kicking myself sitting there thinking, why is Adam? He shouldn't have been playing in overtime in the first place. We should have been going to 5D.
Yeah. I mean, look, Hanifin didn't have a great night either, but it's hard when you have a Fox as your partner. So it's tough, man. I mean, I think the D core as a whole was good generally. I think the forward core was good as well. I think the biggest problem too that they were running into as well is they didn't really have Matthews for 2 games. So, Austin Matthews was basically didn't play the third period against Canada the first game, didn't play against Sweden, and played 6 minutes against Canada in the final.
You're thinking of Matthew Tkachuk.
Sorry, yeah, Matthew Tkachuk. That's what I
meant. Yes. So,
but yes, no, he was.
Yep. And Matthew Tkachuk was one of the guys that we really needed to be in the lineup consistently.
He was the guy that was going to be the game breaker, and he was out. So, yeah, and with those 3 guys they got on Canada with McKinnon, Makar, and McDavid, it's just, it was too much, and Bennington played better than Hellebuyck. So it was, they played well. They deserved to win. They really did. Yeah. They played a good game. They hung in there with the U.S., and they didn't give the U.S. much in the neutral zone. They locked it down. So U.S. couldn't get anything going. Canada was in the offensive end way more than the U.S. was in the offensive end for sure.
Yeah.
So
it was the same. It was the same scenario in the first game. We came out on the better end of that one. from the goaltending side. I think that was where Bennington, he's a gamer. I mean, he plays big in big games, and it showed. I mean, he stifled the Bruins, I think, when he won the cup and in a game 7 in Boston, and I
Yeah.
think it was the same same scenario here where he was not going to lose that game, and you could see it in the third. It was building. I mean, he played well all the game, but it was building throughout the game and into overtime when he stopped Matthews, or was it Matthews or Kachuk? I think it was Brady Kachuk
Both.
on the side of the net. It's just like, okay. I was like, I said, U.S. is not winning this game. I, said it out loud in the living room watching the game. I said, U.S. is not winning this game. I was like, so, and I said to myself the same thing. I said, why is Adam Fox on the ice? He does not need to be on the ice. And unfortunately, they couldn't make a change because it was on an icing.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to know the difference? I know there was overtime, all that thing. In the first game, Adam Fox played 12 minutes and 50 seconds. In the second game, he played almost 20 minutes. And Jacob Slavin in the first game played almost 30 minutes. And in the second game, he played at 28 minutes, but that was also including a lot of overtime as well, too. So that's the difference in the game is you cut the top line pairs minutes and you put Adam Fox and Noah Hannafin out there who in all honesty, I think if you put Hannafin with somebody else, I think he's a very comparable defenseman. I think we could have run 5 defensemen, but there's no business that Adam Fox should have been on the ice. There's just no way.
Yeah, no, he looked out of sorts. I mean, he was spinning. There was a handful of times that he was just like circling. He was like spinning.
He was the only.
He turns off the puck instead of to the puck, and he goes. It was like what is he doing? I said I mean, not that I could do any better, but man, I said he's an NHL Norris winning defenseman, and said you can't play like that. There's no way.
He, outside of the 2 defensemen that they had to call up for Finland, was those 3 guys were the only 3 guys that I felt like didn't belong. They did not belong at this tournament. Adam Fox 100% did not belong at this tournament.
Especially when you leave a guy home like John Carlson.
That I would have.
I
would have much rather taken John Carlson. Yeah.
I mean,
or Pesci,
or Pesci, and I think they called him up as an emergency backup if something were to happen.
They did.
Yeah, so he was in the building, but yeah, no,
I think he would have done better because that's what I don't. The problem and the thing with Fox too is that he's very one dimensional because he's very offensive in his ability. But he's kind of almost a specialty guy on the power play as well.
That's all he's good for. And even at that, he's not that good at it.
That's really all he's good for. But the problem is he hasn't been good on the power play for the Rangers all year.
Yeah.
And he got yanked off the power play after the first period in the first game of the tournament off the U.S. So at that point, if I'm the coach, I'm like, I can't play this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, realistically, and I know he didn't have a choice in this game because he was healthy. Like, if he was hurt, he gladly would have taken Pesci or whoever. But yeah, he had a tough look, and he didn't play much better. I watched some of that Rangers game yesterday where they played Buffalo. He was spinning. Tage Thompson was shedding him like a coat. I mean, he was eating his lunch like all day.
Yeah.
So it was. Yeah. He's not, man. In a sense, I do kind of feel bad for Rangers fans because they are never going to win a cup with that guy as their number 1 D man. There's no way.
No.
There's no way.
No. It really makes me kind of appreciate what Igor Shesterkin has done even more.
Oh,
that guy is an animal. If that's your number 1 defenseman out there, you're an animal. Like you are a legit animal.
Yeah, you're standing on your head every single night.
Like I understand now why he's demanding $14 million because he's like, if you're not going to give me anything in front of me, then I'll take the money and I will work my bag off to be good. But good God, that's brutal.
Like, you're not going to give me any help. I'll do it myself.
But man, there comes a point though when the guy even he is going to he's going to run out of gas.
Well, that's what he's happening.
And that's what's happening now.
He's just running out of gas. He's just getting lit up.
Are we all in agreement that if he's on the roster for Italy, that's the dumbest decision we've seen? Outside of maybe if we can take like 4 extra defensemen, maybe I would put him as my 4th extra defenseman behind a slew of people.
I mean, it's not just him. Like, he was obviously the worst player on USA for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Chris Kreider needs to stay at home. Brock Nelson needs to stay at home. Like, there's a couple guys that really need to stay at home. I think it was a mistake to scratch Connor for Kreider. I think Connor could have brought a little bit more to the game. Not that it would have made a difference. He probably would have played the same amount of time that Kreider played. I think Kreider played like 6 or 7 minutes the whole game. So
I feel like they would utilize Connor more, but in the same vein of breath,
maybe
Connor hadn't done anything all tournament either.
that's what I mean. So you don't really know if he's actually going to do anything or not. But I mean, he can't be any worse than having Kreider just sit on the bench the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
So
but and the other thing too, you know, he sat on the bench. He obviously scored in the Sweden game, but I mean, but after that, he didn't really do much. I mean, but not normally again, it's best on best though. So I mean, Chris Kreider against best on best. I mean, he's good when the Rangers are playing a normal NHL roster, and he's good. He's physical. He gets in there. He creates havoc in front of the net. He didn't really do much of that. Even when he was on the ice, he had limited ice time, but even when he was out there, he didn't really do much. But I think we said it last week, Kyle, but I do have a new appreciation for Austin Matthews. I think he's really
him and Eichel.
Yeah, he showed me
Eichel
was a monster too.
He was the number one centerman.
Both of those guys, they
so good.
They really impressed me with their 200-foot game because it was just I didn't know. Like I knew Eichel had definitely some of it, and Austin Matthews was up for a Selke last year, and like I said, I thought it was. And this is me being a naive, not watching the Leafs because I can't stand them type of thing. But I didn't realize that he had 200 feet to his game quite to the ability that he does. And it makes sense because he's a big dude. He's not small. He's a big man.
Yep. Has he always been on the penalty kill? Because I noticed him on the penalty kill last night. Has he always done that, or is that just something new to his game? Because he was blocking shots last night. I mean, shit. He was doing everything and anything that could to win that hockey game last night. And short of scoring a goal, I don't think he scored. Did he? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he did. But he did everything else right.
No,
everything else right. So,
it all happened so fast in the first period. We might have to be a great transition.
We'll segue onto the Canes Leafs. And what was a dumpster fire of a start, for sure. Could look like, man, I tell you what, it looked like a men's league game out there from our side anyways. And Toronto came ready to go. They started on time and we didn't. We were still back at the hotel having lunch or dinner or having our nap or whatever. We were still there. So Canes, you can't really, I'm going to say coming in after the break, I get it. But at the same time,
Matthews had an empty netter. Sorry.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. So
okay. So continue.
Yeah, but I just think everybody had that scenario. So I can't put that on coming in after break, bad game. Let's go on, park it and go to the next one. We have to be better than that. I think the expectation is that we have the roster to be better than that, and we can't have a start like that. We started like that against Montreal on Tuesday. Game over. After the first 20. So, because Montreal's a good team, they don't have the points, but they're a good team. And you can't let any team in this league get up on you. And it's because it's hard to chase a lead or chase when you get behind, chasing a game's tough. I mean, you guys know that. So I was totally disgusted after the first period, thought about turning it off, then kind of, they righted the ship. Had another glass of bourbon, and it made the second period all that much better.
Yeah, it was ugly. I mean, just everybody was on vacation still, so they were all enjoying their week off, and and you can always tell when it comes out of break how many guys worked out versus didn't for 2 weeks, because you can kind of tell, and I can tell some guys took the 2 weeks off versus it looked like everybody on the Maple Leafs that wasn't in the Four Nations was taking that 2 weeks to better themselves in some way. Granted, probably still on vacation, but they're still hitting the gym, doing stuff like that. The only thing, I don't doubt that this was a guy that was working out, but I just need to get this off my chest. If we play Brent Burns another fucking 24 minutes any goddamn night, I'm not watching. I don't want to watch the hockey game anymore. It's making it so disgusting. He was so far off of his game last night, and then he sort of got a little bit closer to it towards the end. But the issue I have with it is you go back and look at even the goal that Slavin scored. And what does Brent Burns do in that play? He buries his head into his fucking shoelaces and fires a shot into a guy's goddamn shin pads. It happens to get lucky one time in 100 fucking times, and it goes backdoor to Jacob Slavin. I'm just so sick and tired of watching him play because he's god awful in the defensive zone. He gets lost more than anybody else. The first 2 goals were both on Brent Burns. Brent Burns doesn't get the guy down, or Brent Burns just throws a pizza from down low right into the guy, high slot backdoor tapping. Second goal, it's a great passing play, but Brent Burns has a guy, then goes and stares at the puck. The puck goes right back to his guy standing behind him, backdoor fucking tapping. I'm so over it. You go and watch what Jacob Slavin does at USA when he's playing with a comparable, like just somebody that has 2 brain cells to knock together in Brock Faber. And he looks like, you just see it. Jacob Slavin, best defenseman in the world. He gets national praise week in, week out. And then he comes back here, plays with fucking Brent Burns, and he's -4 through the first period because he has Brent Burns is just so bad. It's fucking horrible to watch. I'm so sick and tired of watching it. I'm happy. If he just wants to play third line or third D pairing, he plays 13 minutes. I don't care. Put Sean Walker up top. Put somebody else up top. I'm so sick and tired of watching it. Brent Burns cannot be a number 2 defenseman in the NHL anymore. He's a number 6, maybe a number 7 defenseman, if he's fucking lucky at this point. Like, it's so bad to watch.
So yeah, and having him on the power play too. You know, that's
it's so bad.
He shouldn't be there. Of course, Ghost he didn't have a great night either. I mean, he looked like he didn't
run 5 forwards. I don't give a shit. It's terrible anyways.
Well, that's what the Leafs do.
Run Jacob Slavin. Run Jacob Slavin as your top pair. At least he's going to make a simple fucking play. He's not going to fire it into guys' shin pads relentlessly with no hope and no change because it just drilled into his damn head that he has the most shots in a fucking NHL season, and that's all he's good for because that's how he's won his Norris 17 fucking years ago. It worked then. It doesn't fucking work now. Guys are good at getting into shot lanes. I swear to God, every team has 28, 29 block shots, and 27 of them are fucking Brent Burns ripping them off guys' shin pads without looking. Oh, I'm so fired.
Yeah, it's rough.
I can't stand watching them.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've been harping on it for since probably the beginning of the year, end of last year as well. And it took me a while, to get there, but I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, they can't be playing him 24 minutes a night. That's insane. That's so crazy. I don't know at this point again, and I've said this for a long time. My only gripe and expectation at this point, I just want to get Rantanen signed. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Once he's signed, I could care less if they miss the playoffs. I don't care if they're going golfing early. I really could care less. I just need them. I need them to sign Rantanen because
with this shit happening on the ice.
But again, that's what I'm saying is once he's signed, once that happens, I could care. I don't care.
Yes.
I'll go into every game and be like, oh, well, I hope we don't lose by 8 tonight. I really don't care. It really doesn't bother me at all. Because again, my expectation this year was we were going to be a bubble team. I still have that expectation. I really do. There's been no kind of incentive for me to think otherwise. So, yeah, Burns is bad. He just is. He's past his due date. If the Canes re-sign him next year, it's over. I don't know if I'll watch a game. It's that bad. He's that. But and if we're sitting here looking at this and we see this, there's no way that anybody in the organization is looking at that and be like, everybody's wrong. He's this, that, and the other. There's no, somebody's got to be talking to Rod Rod, dude, what are we doing, man? If it's Tulski, hell, dude, if I had Dundon's number, I'd call him up and be like, dude, you need to talk to Rod. You need to have him I don't know if you need to scratch him. I don't know if you need to push him down to, pairing 3. Just please, for God's sakes, put somebody else up there with him.
Scratch him for a game, play Morrow up
there. It doesn't matter.
Just see if it works. Scratch him for a game, play Morrow next to Slavin. Just see if it works. If it doesn't, no worries. Slide Morrow down with Ghost and put Sean Walker up there. Fucking put Burns on waivers at this point. He needs to be, I'm not joking. He's not even a top 4 defenseman anymore. His progression from when we got him year 1
really
to year now, he's not even a top 6 defenseman anymore. I understand he has the Iron Man streak, and if we really want to just hammer that home, that's what we're hanging our hats on, is Brent Burns has the longest standing Iron Man streak currently.
Put a banner
active.
up at Lenovo.
Don't give a shit. Put him on the third D pair. That's fine. I don't care. Put him on the fourth line forward. Put him up a wing. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do something else with him. He cannot play defense. I don't care. He's terrible. Like, it's
Yeah.
just terrible.
It's not good.
Yeah, no, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the off season too, because you know, I think we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago where if he came in with a team friendly deal, you know, under $1 million a year,
I don't
maybe,
even want that anymore.
but
I don't
at
even
the
want
same
that at this
time, you
point.
know, I don't
As
know
a
that
seventh man, maybe.
because if he's not gonna, you know, I don't know. I think he's reached his limit on his. I mean, again, we all get older. You know, shit, there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff I can't do anymore that I want to. My brain says I can, but my body says, no, we're not going to do that. So, you know, I hate to jump on him too hard, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. I mean, he does not, I agree with you. He does not need to be playing that level of minutes. You know, there are times when you could see glimpses of the way he handles the puck. It's old Brett Burns, but man, it's fleeting. So they're not there
Yeah.
they're not there with
They're
any
getting scarce.
The
with any
scary thing is,
consistency.
the scary thing to me is, and I'm going to slightly disagree with what you said, Dad. I don't think he's physically losing a step, maybe speed wise, but outside of that, he's physically strong. He's a big dude. He still looks like he can skate. He still looks agile.
Yep.
He's losing his head. He's losing the speed in his brain to process the game. And that's the scarier part, because that's such a simple defensive play to pick up that guy's stick backdoor after you just left him. When you play man-on-man coverage, you've played man-on-man coverage the past 3 years. The number one thing in man-on-man coverage is hey, it's kind of in the name, stay on your man. How do you just float away from the guy, not even just, oh shit, it's in the back of my net. Like, it's so, like, it's just, he's losing a step in his brain, and that's the scarier part, because that's something you don't, it's leading very quickly, and it's not good. It's not fun to watch. And if Carolina wants any chance of re-signing Mikko Rantanen, they got to start piecing together wins and piecing together games. And I do want to hop off of this and just, the third period, Aho, Svechnikov, and Mikko Rantanen need to go into next game and the next 5 games. Give them a 5-game stint. We need to stop changing up the lines, Rod, because we need to have Mikko play with somebody consistently. He needs to find somebody that he can bounce off of. Maybe take Aho off of that
I think it's
line.
Svetch.
I think it's Svechnikov.
I think it is as well, too.
I think
And
Svetch and him need to play together.
I said that at the
Honestly,
beginning.
put Kokoniemi between
That's
them.
what I want. I want Kokoniemi with Svetch and Rantanen. Now, granted, that line is a bunch of giraffes on that line. That's about 90% of our height on the forward unit is in one line.
That's fine.
Yeah, but the other shit's not
Doesn't
working.
matter.
So
yeah, it's everything else not working. So
I totally agree.
at a
I've
certain
been saying
point, you have
put
to look
KK
at,
in the
you know,
middle of with Rantanen the whole time. I said try a different finish connection, but I said for every time that they're on the ice together, you go back to the last night. The Rantanen had 3 setups to KK. Now, granted, KK didn't bury any of them, but that if Rantanen's at least getting opportunities, he's going to get confidence and become more positive and all that.
He did have a point last night.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I wanted to get to. Is I'm happy that they finally put Svetch with him, because then it finally allowed him to get some confidence, and you started to see it as the game progressed. He started looking better and better and better. For all the fans that are like, why is Seth Jarvis not on the first line? That's why Seth Jarvis is not on the first line. Because he's way more effective and efficient with the 2 big guys in Martinook and Stahl, because they create a ton of space for him. There's a reason why, granted, it was best on best tournament, but there's a reason why in certain games Jarvis looked a little bit invisible. That's because he was playing with Marchand and Konechny. They're 2 small guys. They're all trying to do the same thing, which is try and be a little pesty and just be gritty on the puck, but there's no strength behind it. Why Stahl is so good for Jarvis is because he brings the strength behind it to then drive the puck into the corners and then set up that flow game that he wants to, where Jarvis can get in on the puck first and he can try and muscle you off. At the end of the day, he's going to get muscled off the puck more often than he's not going to, because he's smaller. So when you put him next to Aho, who is in a very similar boat, those 2 guys don't work well together because nobody can actually put the muscle in behind it. I thought maybe Mikko could. Not really. That's why Jarvis needs to play where he's playing now. That's why I think Svechnikov is great on that line as well, too. That's why I was saying Kokoniemi would be good with Rantanen. They need muscle in that line.
They need physical. Yeah, they need physical
muscle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I agreed. I thought Rantanen actually had a really good game last night.
I did too.
I think overall, I think he was our best forward. over the whole game.
Mhm.
If we did have
Yeah.
one.
I thought Svech looked good as well too.
I
I
think
thought
he did.
Svechnikov looked good.
He did, but it took him a little bit to get going.
Mhm.
But I think once they shuffled stuff around, I think I said in a text last night, I said, "Man, for the love of God, put KK between Rantanen and somebody because Aho's not working." And I think moving Aho, maybe lit a fire under his ass. He played decent and well in the third period. But he wasn't skating. He was, I don't know. Maybe try this one on for size. It's almost like he's because Rantanen's here. He's trying to be Nathan McKinnon. He's trying to be more. He thinks he has to be that way instead of being himself. And I think in the third period, once he shifted a line away from him, he played more like himself. And the way he generated speed and created the little bank pass to himself off the end wall to create the first goal for Ghost. I think he played more like himself with added some of that speed to his game. Whereas before he was almost like he was trying to slow the game down a little bit too much to try to, I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic.
So I'll tell you, and Cam, I actually, you go first, Cam. I haven't, I've been talking like crazy here.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I only watched the first probably 15 minutes of the game last night. I turned it off after it was 4-0.
Okay.
So, it was like I said, the first period was rough, man. I mean, I thought obviously in the first, I think Mikko was definitely the best player. He had that one shift where I think he set up I don't know who
he set
it
up
was. He
KK,
set up multiple guys,
KK
like 3
high
or 4
slot,
times, or
and then
something.
it was backdoor to like Walker or something.
So there was some chances for sure. I mean, it's one of those where, even if you have an off period, it's like, okay, if you're down 1-0 going into the second, it's like, all right, well, you know what? We can turn it around. We can buckle up, even 2-0. But you start getting into 3 and 4-0 after one period. I mean, you're just sitting there banging your head against the wall. You're like, guys, like what? Like, what do we do now? Like, it's like throw the kitchen sink and hope it sticks. But then you start, pushing too hard, and then you end up getting scored on more because you're, creating too much offensive pressure that you don't have any back pressure when they counter. So, yeah, I mean, it's like I said, going down. I knew the game was over after the first. I was like, there's no way they come back. Like, there's just no way. Take as a miracle.
Dad, I do just want to add one point to your previous question where you were asking about Aho and Rantanen. I think the difference is that when Aho is not playing with Mikko Rantanen, he feels like he can carry the line and he's got to be the guy on the line. When he has Mikko Rantanen, he feels like Mikko Rantanen is the guy on the line. So what he tries to do is force feed him the entire time. Same issue he had with Jake Guentzel to start. And then once he realized, hey, I still need to do what I just need to do, and then that guy will figure it out at some point.
Yeah.
That's when all of a sudden Jake Guentzel and Sebastian Aho started catching fire. Granted, it took him, I think it was 2 games to really get to that point. It wasn't long because I think that Jake Guentzel and Aho play a very similar style. Rantanen plays a different style than Aho does. Aho is very run and gun, quick tic-tac plays. Rantanen is slow it down, kind of play with possession, where that's why I think him and Svechnikov played so well together, because Svech is very similar. Svech wants to, and that's why Aho and Svech haven't played well together. Put Aho with Jackson Blake. Aho and Jackson Blake work well together because they're both just rugrats. They just run around like crazy. I don't know who you put on the other wing, maybe Eric Robinson. I don't know who. Taylor Hall. Yeah, have Taylor Hall on that wing.
That's what they had.
fit.
That's what they had. That's what they had last night.
It's a perfect fit.
It was Hall and Blake and with Aho in the middle. That's what they switched it to in the third.
We're trying too hard to force this Aho Rantanen connection because Aho is supposed to be our number 1 center. And it's not saying he can't be our number 1 center. But if KK's playing like he is, I still think he had a relatively good game last night. I didn't think he missed much of a beat as far as
he didn't get much ice time though. When you look at it, I mean,
because he gets relegated to the 4th line again.
Yeah,
because they moved Roslovic up to play center.
Yeah. I saw that.
I'm so sick and tired of Rod. Just ship him out then. If you don't want to play him, ship him out because I think he's actually playing well, and you just keep demoting him for no fucking reason. It's actually, I know it was because we had no offense going last night, and I get that portion of it. But flip some. I mean, it's always it's like whenever the lines start going into the cycle, I always know who the first guy is to get moved down. It's always Kokaniemi. He always goes to the 4th line.
It really is. because putting Roslovic there is like putting Aho back there just on a lesser scale.
It didn't help anything. It made
It
things
didn't do
worse.
anything.
It made us
You know,
smaller in that
KK
area.
he's a bigger physical center,
Yeah.
and I think he creates that time and space that Rantanen needs because Rantanen, he's a physical body on the wall, and if he's got to have a centerman that's going to he's going to battle in the trenches with him.
Go look at what Nathan McKinnon does. Nathan McKinnon
Right.
fucking battles in the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's what they need. That's what they need for Rantanen. I think I hope that the line combos for the Montreal game are as they ended. You know, Aho between Hall and Blake and Rantanen with KK and Svets. I think that's your 1-2 punch that's going to get you over the finish line.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but it's going to get you over the finish line to an opportunity for two things: to go deep in the playoffs, and the second one is to sign Mikko Rantanen, because I think if we don't get him signed,
if he doesn't start producing, he's not going to sign.
No, but if he doesn't sign before March 7th, he's not signing. So he's going to just walk it out, or we're going to trade him. Because if we don't sign him before March 7th, then he doesn't want to be here. Doesn't see the opportunity. So that segues right into the next topic, which is trade deadline. So to your point, Cam, we do need to sign him because I think he is a foundation player that needs to be here. He just hasn't had the opportunity to find the right line combination that's going to work for him, and consistency. So, you know, it's one of those things. But if March 7th rolls around and he's not inked to be a Carolina Hurricane for the long haul, he is not going to be a Carolina Hurricane past the trade deadline.
Can I just make one trade suggestion? And this maybe not based entirely and solely off of what just happened in Four Nations. 1-for-1 swap Brady to Chuck for Mikko Rantanen. I'm taking it tomorrow on a...
Yeah, Ottawa wouldn't do that, though, because they know the Canes are over a barrel with Rantanen, so a lot of teams know
That's
that.
the issue.
That's
is
the
we're not
problem,
going to
too.
get nearly a return that we got in the
We're
first
not going to
place.
get the return that we gave up for, we gave up Drury and Natchez, which, again,
No.
do I think either of them would have re-signed after next year? Because Natchez, I think, had one more year on his deal.
I think Drury
Probably
possibly,
not.
but he was always kind of disgusted at the fact that he could never get a promoted
always
role.
he always kind of had it out with Rod about not putting him, not making him the number one, basically.
Well, number two.
So, yeah. I mean, yeah. So he was always like the second line guy kind of thing.
But I think all three of us can agree. I don't know that he did enough to deserve the number two role.
No.
I think he did.
No, I
don't think
he
has done entirely enough. I think KK has come closest to doing enough, but I still think that we could use a 2C in this situation. Mm-hmm. But I think that the biggest gripe that we have down the middle role is that we don't have any level of consistency with who's playing where. Like, if KK is going to be, if we think KK is going to be the 2C, which I personally think he does, I think there are a lot of other people, a lot of other fans that think he can get to that point. Maybe he's not a 2C that produces 80 points, but he's a 2C that can produce probably 50, a David Krejci-esque 2C where he can probably get to the 40, 50 mark, and that's a very quality 2C to have when you're in that point range. I think he can 100% get there. It's just when you go from playing every other night, it's like you're playing either 17 minutes or you're playing 7. Like, that is so hard to get into a routine of like, okay, this is how I have to do it every single night. This is how I have to take care of myself. Just stop move. Like, why is he the first guy that's always the punching bag for Rod Brind'Amour? I don't get it. I don't get it. We refuse to move any defenseman. Brent Burns is allowed to make 100,000 mistakes. KK makes one and he's demoted to the fourth line instantly. I don't get it. Like, Rod apparently just needed I don't understand, because it's every single time. I get it. He's had history of making mistakes. You're not going to become a better fucking hockey player unless you make mistakes. You got to make mistakes. You want to know the best person with this? Look at Nikita Kucherov. That man turns the puck over more than anybody else, but that's because he's trying crazy ass shit to make a play. And yeah, it works out a lot of the time in his favor. But when you take it down to a lesser scale, KK makes a lot of really smart, intelligent hockey plays, but then he will make a dud play. But is that one dud play outweighing everything else he does? No, it's just whenever we put whoever, it's going to be Tyson Yost fucking next game. He's going to play second line center. He's just going to make less good plays, but he'll make that one less mistake. It's like we take away all the offensive ability for the one less defensive mistake. It's like, that's not a good turnaround, because you go look at their top line center in Sebastian Aho, that man turns the puck over like it's going out of style, and he never gets demoted. Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand why it's always him. It's him every time.
Yeah, but at the same, I mean, I could care less if he gets a point. If he generates opportunity for Rantanen and Svech, and if he generates opportunity for those guys, that's all I care about. And and I think that's all Rod should care about. Whether he listens or doesn't listen, he's got his own way. And here's, and I don't know if Cam, you want to talk out of topic here, but we're still talking trade. But is Rod's message still getting through to the guys? I guess maybe that's a end of the show question. But what? So do we need anything on the defensive side at trade deadline? I know we're not going to get the same value for Rantanen if we have to trade him. So is a guy like say a Mitch Marner kind of player, is that a feasible return if we do have to get rid of him? Because if he doesn't sign, we have to trade him.
You're talking about not a fair trade. If we got Mitch Marner for Mikko Rantanen, that's a fair-ass trade if I've ever seen one. That's about as good of a 50-50 deal. The only reason why I think Toronto might be interested...
That won't happen, though. There's a big reason that won't happen.
So the only reason Toronto might be interested is if we can somehow offload a little bit more salary and we can retain the extra $2 million while also taking on Mikko's contract. That allows Toronto to then take on Mikko at $2 million, gives them about $6 million to then add another piece at the deadline. They might be interested in that, knowing that probably Mitch Marner's not going to re-sign in the offseason. That's where that deal becomes interesting. But Cam, you said it great yesterday when we were talking. There has to be a deal in place with both parties before that trade ever happens. Like, both parties have to be like, they need to sign
extension in place,
Marner for an 8-year deal at whatever number we kind of agree with Marner at, and we need to sign Rantanen for whatever number at 8 years, and then the trade can happen. But I think that out of every team, that's the one where Mikko kind of makes sense, because they know they're probably going to lose Mitch Marner in the offseason. If you can bring in a guy like Mikko and somehow convince him to stay at a number of like 11 instead of Marner's going to ask for 14, and I mean, to be fair, Marner's had more points than Mikko Rantanen in the past 5 years. He's been very good in Toronto, and I thought he looked very good for Canada. I mean, he'd set up the game winner. Granted, the one thing that makes me upset with that trade is we lose a lot of size in that, but we gain a lot of speed. Mitch Marner is one of the fastest players in the NHL. He's one of the most dynamic players in the NHL. I don't want to lose Mikko, because I think he adds a different element to our team that I think we need. But in the same vein of breath, if he's not going to resign and we can somehow work out a deal to where Mitch Marner signs and he says, okay, I will go to Carolina, and that's the best case scenario, I think, for both parties. Because like I said, then Toronto, if they think this is their year, they add Mikko Rantanen for Mitch Marner and they add salary cap space. Oh boy, howdy. That opens up a lot of avenue for them moving forward. Like, that does. Maybe if it's even like adding Rantanen and a Jalen Chatfield or somebody in that kind of same, like a right-handed shot defenseman. I don't want to lose Sean Walker, so I'm trying to think. I mean, they're not going to take Brent Burns.
I really don't want to lose Chatfield.
But I mean, Chatfield signed.
That's the last guy I want to lose.
Chatfield signed for one more year, and after that, I don't think he gets re-signed. I think he makes too much.
I think he would.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's been stellar, and I've really liked the way he's played. I mean,
granted, he's playing out of Orlov.
I mean, you look at it's him, Sean Walker, and Brent Burns. He's probably our best right-handed defenseman right now. Realistically,
Sean Walker.
I mean, Sean Walker's good, but I mean, just based off of speed, like Chatfield has so much speed. Like, nobody really beats him in a foot race, which again is what you want. That's what you want, playing with a guy that's going to be, kind of a pylon at times with Orlov. So that's kind of what you need in that pairing. But I honestly, if I'm being real honest, I don't think the Canes do anything at the trade deadline. I really don't think they do.
I think we lose Mikko
I think it's unfortunately at this point, I think that's probably the case. That's more likely than not. I really hope not.
Like I
'cause
said,
we gave up a
if he
lot.
doesn't sign by March 7th, we'll stamp it right now. I believe 100% in my heart and soul that he will not be a Carolina Hurricane next year.
Unless we offer him like 16 or 15 million, like something to where
Even
no other
even
team is offering him that number.
Well, again, I mean, they already gave him an offer.
Yeah, it's a
over Four Nations,
over $100 million for the entirety of the contract. So it's going to be
it's at least 12 and a half a year.
Yeah, it's
at least 12 and a half a year. I think it's more than that.
Probably.
I think it's
more.
It's
13 and a half. I think it's 8 years times 13 and a half.
I think it's 13. I don't know if it's 13 and a half. I think it's 13,
so his asking price was 14. I think we only got him down to 13 and a half. That's where I think they left the contract, because Tulski wants to make a deal with Rantanen. He knows if he goes in too low, it's not going to get done, and Mikko's just going to be like, I'll wait and see, maybe. And then it's going to go into the offseason, and he's just going to go. So it's got to be a comparable number. He might even have gone to the 14 number, been like,
might have gone right to 14.
Here's your contract. This is what you asked for. I'm giving you your exact contract. Because I think I genuinely, I don't want to be bad to Kane's. I don't think Mikko wants to play for Carolina for the next 8 years. I don't think this is his ideal landing location.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, he did have to waive. He waived his no trade clause to get.
That was because he didn't have a no trade clause with Chicago, so it was either he waived it to come here or he went and played in Chicago for the rest of the season.
Yeah, but you think about too, like if he knew 100%, like I'm just going to be a rental, I'll go to Chicago for the time being, and then I'll sign somewhere in the summer, he would have just done it. So he waived his no trade clause because he thought, okay, maybe I like it in Carolina and can. That's the only thing that gives me hope, is that he went out of his way to say, I don't want a rental deal. Basically, he didn't want to be a rental.
Or in his brain, he said, if I got to be a rental, I'd rather be a rental on a playoff team and have an opportunity to make an impact in the playoff run that they have and make even more money in the offseason versus playing for a team like Chicago, where I'm not going to get that many points. I know that for a fact. I'll play with Connor Bedard.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about it, even if he didn't play that great on Chicago, nobody's really going to knock him for that.
No, but Cam,
every other team's going to give him his asking 100%. Price. It doesn't matter whether he wins another cup or
think if he goes into the playoffs and goes in and scores 40 points and wins the Stanley Cup and wins the MVP. We're not talking 14 million. We're talking 15 and a half, especially with the new contract.
Nobody's going to pay him 15 and a half.
If he goes into playoffs, puts up 45 points, wins the MVP, we win the cup, and he's he's going to win he will get 15.
The team is paying him 15 and a half? Chicago. He doesn't want to go there. I'm telling you, man, nobody's going to give him 15. Nobody is going to sink their organization like that.
Yeah, that's a hard.
There are some teams that will sink their organization.
For a winger, if he was a center, could make the argument. He's a winger.
You're meaning to tell me if Dubas has 15.5 million in the offseason, he needs to sign 3 players. He's not going out of his way to sign Mikko Rantanen at 15.5 million.
Well, he's also an idiot.
I'm telling you, there are teams that will sign him for 15.5 million.
Well, I guess fair point there, but
there are teams.
I guess.
I just, man,
I don't know, man.
Well, if that team does it, then we might as well count that as a W every day and twice on Sunday.
The Rangers 2.0.
I mean, the Rangers are stupid enough to do it.
Drury would do it. Toronto would somehow find a way to finagle their books and add an extra guy.
Yeah, but he's not going to Canada. He knows whatever he's getting paid, he's cut that in half, maybe by a third at least, and he's getting a third of whatever the salary is that's posted. So there's no way he's going to Canada. And I know he's looking at the Draisaitl deal as kind of a staple, but Draisaitl is also a center as well. So that's a huge difference. Having a top tier center versus having a top winger is a huge difference. Mm-hmm. It's a huge difference. Yep. The best players in the NHL are generally centers, and that's just how it is. That's how it's pretty much always been. I mean, there's some guys that are obviously goal scoring wingers. Like you look at a Gensel or a Reinhardt, and they're getting paid, but they're not getting paid whatever.
No, they're getting paid 9, 10 million.
9, 10, 11 million. That's kind of the area. I mean, if he wants 14, like I said, I mean, we were okay giving him 14 for sure. We have the cap to do it. We got a couple of rookies on the D-core that are coming in next year. We're going to shed the Orlov contract. I hope to Christ Brent retires, because if Brent Burns doesn't retire, I'm really afraid the Canes are going to try and re-sign him, which I really don't want to happen, because if he is part of the top pairing again next year, I mean, the TV might go out the window. I might not watch TV again next year, because I can't stand. I really can't stand him anymore. So. Yeah, it's tough, but I don't know if it's like a like an ultimatum, like if he doesn't sign by March 7th, if he's not going to sign with Carolina. But I think it really puts a lot more pressure on the performance of the Hurricanes in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
As to if he resigns. Because if the Canes make a deep playoff run, like if they go to, let's say for God's sakes, if they go to the Eastern Conference Final, Rantanen is looking at that, he's like, oh, we're really close. Like, we're really close.
Yeah.
Like, I could see myself, he might even take a team friendly. Like,
I
if
don't think
you
he ever
know,
takes a team friendly because he took a team.
I mean,
friendly
but
in his
like
last
by, I'm not
contract,
saying
yeah.
like, I'm not saying he goes down to 10 million, but I'm saying instead of, 14, he goes to 13 and a half or 13. Like he sheds 500,000 off of it, a little bit more friendly, just because he's like, okay, they're really close and they got a lot of good guys in the pipeline that are coming out, with Nikishin, hopefully. Moro's in the system already. That Artemov guy is tearing up the KHL right now. So they got a lot of good
second in
prospects.
rookie scoring, only behind the Montreal Canadiens prospect, who is, you want to talk about lighting up the KHL.
Demidov, yeah, he's
got
really
like
good.
48 points in the KHL, right? It's wild.
Yeah, he's
the
wild.
guy
But
we
again,
have
I mean,
is like 37, so he's doing well. But Demidov is he's a different animal. He's crazy.
I think it's definitely gonna be a gut punch if they don't re-sign him, because that's 2 years in a row that you sell a lot for the guy you think is going to be the staple of the franchise, and they end up walking. It's like, it's basically like at this point, do you do it again?
But then again, do
you run at somebody again in the next trade deadline?
In the same vein of breath, we go into the offseason with like $48 million in salary cap space.
Yeah, we have a lot more flexibility this year than we did last year.
We can all of a sudden open up the checkbook and be like, because again, there are players. Mitch Marner is going to be a UFA. I don't see in any situation. Now, granted, I think out of everybody, he might be the one to end up in Chicago, but
yeah, I think so too.
I'm just like, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, there are some good UFAs coming up outside of Marner. I can't think of like Sam Bennett. That's one. He's gonna get paid. I wouldn't mind seeing him. Like that's a player I wouldn't mind seeing. There are guys where it's like, they're coming up on contract. If we have a lot of salary cap space, I don't think it's going to be the worst thing in the world. The issue we have is that we go right back to where we started, where we don't have a superstar generational talent unless we can get a Mitch Marner, because I think he's probably about the only one that's inside of that UFA pool outside of Rantanen that's going to be that generational talent level.
Yep. I don't know if you know this off top, but I'm still talking trade deadline. But I mean, how are you guys feeling about the net? Are we good there?
I think we have bigger issues than the net right now.
No, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think we have bigger issues than the net right now. I think we really need to add a defenseman unless we can get Nikishin out here for playoffs, because I genuinely think if he gets signed, he's going straight into the lineup. Like he's that ready to go type of thing.
So I don't know if you guys, but if we sign Nikishin, does this year count? Okay, which is rough. So it's,
does he have to?
I don't even know if he gets a rookie contract, to be honest with you.
Does he? Okay.
I don't know, because I know in years past, like when Panarin came over to the NHL, he didn't sign a rookie contract. He signed, granted, I believe, because he was drafted by Chicago, but I believe he signed like a 2-year deal coming out, because he only played 2 seasons with Chicago. And then after that 2 seasons, he went to Columbus on a free agent contract, I'm pretty sure. No, he got traded.
I think he got traded as well.
Yeah, I could be all over wrong. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the rules on it, but all I know is that he can play, and he has played for Ska right D. He's going straight in over Burns for me, because he's offensively talented. He's leading the KHL in points for a defenseman. He's very good defensively. Like, I think it's going to be a very easy swap. He is the number 1 rated prospect coming out of the KHL. And the past couple number 1 rated prospects coming out of the KHL to sign have been guys like Panarin, like Kaprizov, like Kucherov, like those guys. He's a high value target. Every team in the NHL has called on him. He is the one piece that we have said, no, never. But like, that's the level of he should be. Now, granted, it's all about getting there. But for me, it's like, that's an easy, I see him coming in and making an instant impact type of thing. I think Morrow might be in the lineup before the end of the year as well, too. I mean, if the D core keeps going the way it is, either we're making a trade or we're missing playoffs, or we're calling somebody up.
It's tough too, because I'm trying to just
Can we send Burns back to the Sharks? So we got a return deal on that one.
yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But it's
It's like a sixth.
it's my I got two sides of the coin that I'm really trying to like battle with myself here. Is like one side I'm like, yeah, there's still the opportunity to, obviously make the playoffs and make a deep run. You got the guys to do it for sure. Um, so maybe you take a chance on a guy like Nikishin and just, have him, even if it's his first year is only kind of a really short stint, you just get him for at least another 2 years on a rookie contract. But, the other side is like, even if Nikishin gets in, I don't think they're going to put him on the top pairing with Slavin over Burns. That's the problem. Like, are they really going to do it? Are they going to do it? They're not going to do it, man. We all know this. We know the answer. Somebody else is going to sit. It's probably going to be Chatfield, honestly. And that's a shame. It's a damn shame that he's going to be the one that sits, but it's going to be him. They're going to put Nikishin with Orlov because they're going to be the Russian connection or whatever. Nikishin's going to try and, probably take Orlov's head off because he's absolute dog. I think he needs to get traded at the deadline. I think that's a guy that you should trade at the deadline.
I don't think we get anything for him.
I mean,
there's not very many
listen,
teams that are going to take on a $7 million contract.
Well, it's only going to be a partial contract as well. I mean, they're not going to take a huge hit, but at the same point as well, the Canes could get something in return because he's just going to walk in free agency. They're not going to get anything for him anyway. So, and he hasn't been playing that great over the past, couple months, probably most of this year. But so I'm still on the stance of like, it'd be great if Nikish could come over for a month or two at the end of the season. I'd rather him if they want to put him as like a healthy and basically just have him be around the guys and kind of see how it goes. Sure, that's completely fine. But I wouldn't throw him in the lineup because again, my goal for the rest of this year, the only thing that I want to see is that the Canes re-sign Mikko Rantanen. That is it. Outside of that, I could care less what else happens.
It doesn't happen unless the team plays well. So at the end of the day,
well, who knows, man? Because you never know. He might just be like, look, because again, if he sees where the team is going, the prospects they have coming in, in my head, if I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, obviously the Canes have the best prospect pool, I think, in the NHL. I mean, they're right up there.
They're ranked
number one
second.
or number two.
Yeah, they're ranked second right now, only behind Montreal.
They have, and he signs a long term. It's like, okay, maybe they're kind of in a gap year now, but you look, 5-6 years down the road. I mean, where could you be? With some of those guys developing and some of those guys becoming number one guys on the team. We got a lot of top 6 and top 4 defensemen, top 6 forwards coming in. So, again, the goal is to re-sign Rantanen, and that's goal number 1. If we can't re-sign him, try and get something for him, I guess. I don't know, but
even a first, just something.
Yeah, we have to get something because we gave up a whole hell of a lot to get him. So, but we'll see. But it kind of leads right into getting Mikko Rantanen signed is going to be sort of our final topic for the week is consistency. We just don't have a consistent bone in our body right now on any level, throughout game in, game out. I mean, you play, I think, a really good game to close out before the Four Nations against Utah, and then come back and absolutely lay a turd in the first period against Toronto. I guess not the same team, obviously, but at the same time, it shouldn't matter who you're playing. You have to have the same start every time, and your best players have to be your best players. And right now, we're not getting that out of guys like Aho and I think Gostisbehere's got to find his game again because we need him on the top power play unit. We can't have Brett Burns there. We have to have somebody different,
I'm telling you, try Jacob Slavin.
Yeah, put somebody else up there to see
what on the top unit. He's smart with the puck. He's gonna make the right decision. You're not gonna get burnt on a PK goal. It's gonna be very seldomly that you get really hammered away. Like, just put him out there. He's gonna make the right play. He's very good at getting pucks through to the net. He's very good at funneling pucks in. He's very good at just being very aware. And he's one of the best things he's great at keeping pucks in the zone. I mean, he's knocked pucks down at the blue line so often. It's just like a little tap down and we're staying in the zone. Like, I get it. He's not the most offensively savvy guy in the entire world. but he makes us better whenever he's on the ice.
Yeah.
Look at any team he's on the ice. USA, he was the best player on Team USA. He's the best player on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
He's the best player when he's on the ice. And it's just, so put him on the ice. He showed. He played 30 minutes for Team USA in a regulation game. That show, he can do it. It's not, it doesn't have to be every single night. When you're playing good teams, he's got to play more. And I think the same thing with our forward groups. Like, you look at Mikko Rantanen when he's on Colorado, he's playing 27 minutes, 26 minutes a night, and maybe not that high, maybe that a little high, 24, 25 minutes. He comes here, he's playing 19, 20 minutes. It's like, there's a reason why guys get a ton of points on other teams. It's because their best players play all the time. You look at Nikita Kucherov, he averages like 26 minutes a game. You look at Conor McDavid, he averages like 25, 26 minutes a game. Look at all the top guys. They're averaging almost half of the game they're on the ice because they're the best fucking players. I love our fourth liner. I think our fourth line is great, but we roll and roll and roll and roll and roll. And it's like, maybe, just maybe, guys on the top line don't ever get any mojo going because they're only playing 3 shifts a period.
Yeah, no. And here's the other, I'll sort of counterpoint to that one though, is the way Rod's system is that it's
That's
tough.
the issue.
It's tough to play. And it's hard to play.
We got to get out of it. We got to get out of Rod's.
If we're gonna play those guys 25, 26, 27 minutes a game, then our puck pressure forecheck game has got it. We have to change. We have to change what we do. We have to go to more of a system. You know, the D zone cannot be a man-to-man coverage because you use so much energy to have that as part of your process. So that has to change because if we don't, then I mean, we could give them 27 minutes a game, but by the time we get to April, you know, they'll be on a stretcher in the back room, just getting IVs every other period. So, that's the hard
how
part.
to change it very quickly, and it's not that hard. And John Cooper learned the hard way how to do this because guess who is the only other coach in the NHL to play man-on-man in the last 20 years was John Cooper. And guess what he changed? And when he changed it, all of a sudden Tampa became a perennial powerhouse. Go to a hybrid man-on-man system. When the puck is below the goal line or below the top of the circle, it's man-on-man. The 3 guys down low, whoever the 3 guys are, they play a man-on-man system. But the second the puck gets transferred up to the top, it goes back to a zone. We don't have guys like if a winger wheels out from the bottom of the circle and goes above the top of the circle, and you watch Tampa, that defenseman will back off. The winger will take him. The defenseman's still kind of shadowing, but he's not running out to the blue line. That's where we get burnt so many times. And yes, it didn't necessarily happen last game, but go back and watch this playoff series against New York last year. They will rotate Panarin, who Slavin typically will have. Panarin will just go hang out at the blue line, so Jacob Slavin's hanging out at the blue line. When you go look at what Jacob Slavin did while he was sitting in front of the net for Team USA and tell me you don't want that in front of the net all the time. Why are we playing a man-on-man where all of a sudden our defensemen are just pulled out to the point and they're allowing Adam? There's a reason why Adam Fox is so effective against Carolina. It's because he can free roam in the zone, no problem. He's playing forward. He's not playing defense. He's playing forward. Panarin is technically playing defense, and they do it so well. Yeah. They pull Slavin way out. Whoever has Slavin, he grabs the puck and he goes up. As long as he can keep the puck away from Slavin for 5 minutes, he just goes up to the blue line, passes it off. He realizes, oh, Jacob Slavin's on my back. I'm going to hang out at the blue line because now all of a sudden it's a 4-on-1. It's a 4-on-1 with the only defenseman being down low, Brent Burns. That is an easy goal every time.
No, so that's the only way I see it working is that if there's a shift like that. So, but again, we just need to fix the consistency. We have to start stringing together good starts. We haven't had a good start on a regular basis
all year.
On a regular basis.
I don't think I can count a single game where we had a really good start.
So again, like I said, if we have the same start against Montreal, it's going to be similar 3-4-0 heading into the first intermission break. So that's one thing they got to fix. And I think if they fix that in the near term and Rantanen gets some flow going with a good winger and a centerman that's not named Sebastian Aho, I think it's gonna take him to another level of wanting to potentially sign here. But he's not there yet because he would have signed if the number was his asking number and we gave it to him and he hasn't signed, he's not signed. So there's another reason, and the reason is the team.
I was slightly. This will be my final point, and then I will bid adieu for my voice for this episode. My only counterpoint to that is you go from playing. I mean, he's been a Carolina Hurricane for 7 games. Like, he went from being traded when he didn't think he was ever going to get traded to all of a sudden he's on a new team. Everything's brand spanking new. He's been there for a week and a half. And then he gets shipped off to play for Finland for 2 weeks where he's not really around the Carolina Hurricanes. He's not
Mhm.
around Carolina. He's not doing anything. Now he comes back. I'm not surprised he hasn't signed yet. Yes, the contract might be where it's at, everything like that. You got to think about the fact that he's not just signing a money value, everything like that. He's signing 8 years of his life to live in a location and be a
Yeah.
part of a team and everything like that. That's not, if it were up to me, that's not a decision I'm making over a 2 week period. I want to live there for a month and a half, actually living in Raleigh, like seeing what it's all about, seeing what it's like. Granted, it stinks because that puts us past where the trade deadline is a little bit. But if it were me, like, and I'm kind of, I kind of want to pose this up to you guys. If it were up to you guys, would you, if you got the money, would it just be like, okay, whoever's giving me the money, that's great? Or if you had the luxury of being able to be like, I know other teams will give me the money, let me make sure I actually enjoy where I'm living first before I sign the contract. Would you not be in that situation? Now, granted, if you're a fourth line winger and you're getting money from a team, you're taking the money. But
Yeah.
in this situation, I'm asking you guys, would you not be kind of doing the same thing? I wouldn't have signed right away.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, it's a fair argument. I think, he actually wants to, like I said, I think it has more to do with, if they did offer him the money, I guess it does have to do with the team. Does it fit? Does he see himself here for 8 years? So I guess I could see that argument as being part of it is, he's still a young man. He's not,
That's the
not
thing though, is
old by any
he's
stretch.
he's gonna be, by the time this contract kicks in, he's gonna be 30 years old. So this is gonna
Yeah.
take him till he's 38 years
Right.
old if he signs
Right.
an 8-year contract. So this is his rest of his basically career
Yeah.
because it's gonna have a full no move clause in it. So it's gonna be up to him on whether or not he wants to leave or not.
Mhm.
It's He's signing away the rest of his career, basically. So it's like this is a massive decision. It's not like he's 22 years old and he's signing a 7-year deal where he's
Yeah.
gonna have another contract. He can go play somewhere else and stuff. This is the rest of his career because you don't know. At 38 years old, he might be where Brent Burns is, and he can't keep up, and he might be looking on the outside or on the outside looking in. Like this is his contract. He gotta. This is where he's gonna play for the rest of his career, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and fair enough. I hadn't really thought about it too deep onto the longevity of the contract, but you're right. It is a big decision outside of the money. I mean, the money's the money, but you got to be willing to get up and go to work every day and enjoy where you're going too, because the money doesn't get you there sometimes.
Yep.
But and I
So
mean, and we've only heard good things about guys that have played for Rod. They're like, we really like playing for Rod. Obviously he's a player's coach kind of thing. Like, when you win, you get rewarded. He gives them the day off all the time after they win. So, and he gives those incentives. Like he's very much a player's coach. So, you hope it happens. There's 6 games left until the trade deadline. So they got 6 games. I think 4 of them are home games. So
yeah,
he's got 4 more home games until the trade deadline. So, man, you're just hoping, kind of sit here and just like, hey, man, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, could I see, could I see him resigning? Obviously, yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. I think it's probably in his best interest because, again, if the Canes don't trade his rights to anybody, he can only sign a 7-year deal with somebody else. So he can't sign an 8 as a free agent. So he gets that extra year and that extra guaranteed money, which is
Extra $14
enticing.
million is a lot of money.
That's what I mean. You're leaving, in his eyes, you're leaving that money on the table. You're leaving it on the floor, especially if the Canes don't trade you at the deadline to somebody else where you know you can re-sign. So maybe that's what the Canes do to put him over a barrel, honestly, and basically be like, hey, man, like we can give you that extra 8, make it more enticing. Maybe they don't get rid of him at the trade deadline and kind of just, wait it out till the end and basically say, hold the carrot over him of, we can give you the extra year, we can give you the extra 13 and a half, 14 million, guaranteed, obviously. So
Yeah. The only
it's
thing
tough
that
though.
fears
I
me
mean,
is
obviously it's a complete, world shift for him over the last month. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the future is promising. This was always going to be a gap year for the Canes, and I believe I've been pretty consistent with that since the beginning, even before the season started. So again, only goal right now is just re-sign Rantanen. Whatever else happens, happens. I
Yep.
really don't. If they get bounced, if in the first round, if they don't even make the playoffs, it is what it is.
Yep.
The future is promising.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I think he's the right fit for here on paper.
Yeah.
To get us to the next level. It obviously just a matter of whether or not he wants to be here or not, because I think we want him here for sure. But it's really gonna, to your point, Kyle. I hadn't really thought about the term and living here for 8 years.
It's a full-blown life decision.
It's the life. It's the
Yeah.
rest of your playing career at this location, and can you see yourself being here with this
Yeah.
program? You know what? And that's a tougher side of the decision. If they make the money part go away, okay, then it's the rest of it that comes into play. So we'll see what happens. But but March 7th trade deadline, we'll see. If we make any moves, don't make any moves. But I think we got the foundation here. It's just a matter of we have to build and be more consistent in the way we're approaching every game, every start. We're not there right now, and that's the more concerning part to me than even the players we have on the roster. It's getting those starts and consistent over the next 26 games in order to head into the playoffs on the right side of the coin.
Yeah, and I fully suspect a complete better effort in Montreal. It's a long break for a lot of guys that are aging, and sometimes the longer the break for an older guy, the harder it is to get the engine rev back up. So
Yep.
the stall line wasn't particularly great last night. Our older guys weren't particularly great. Give
Yep.
him a couple games. I know I was ripping on Brent Burns earlier. I hope to God he has a better game in Montreal, and he shoves it up my hoop. But at the end of the day, it was a long break for those guys. They hadn't had a 2-week break
Yep.
in the middle of the season since 2014. That was the last time that there was an Olympic break. They usually get like 3 or 4 days off for All-Star break. So I know I harped on them, but hopefully we get a better effort, because it was a better game in the second and third period against Toronto. It was more of a game. After the first period, it was a 3-2 score line with them getting 2 empty net goals. So
yeah,
let's take it with a grain of salt. It was a terrible first period, but hopefully it's a better return, and hopefully the old guys can get going. Now, when I say old, they're 10 years older than I am.
Yeah.
It's not like
No,
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
we harp on them. We harp on some of these guys a lot. Like, obviously, like Burns and some of these guys for sure. And again, we all know they're probably great guys, great locker room guys.
Oh,
like just glue in the locker, like for sure. Like you get all that. At the end of the day, dude, just make us eat it. Please.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Show
hope
us.
Brent Burns makes me shove
I
it.
hope he comes out and has 50 points the rest of the year. You
Yeah.
know, like do
Yeah.
it, man.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
That's fine. Prove me wrong. Let me. I don't care.
I
really
don't care
if I'm
either.
That's
wrong.
Norris
Just
conversation.
please.
50 points in like 22
what I mean.
games. That's Norris levels.
Like, just do it. Go out and prove me wrong. That's what we all want. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, that's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to be, because again, we're just 3 guys sitting here talking about the team. You're the one in the trenches doing it. Just go do it, man. Go prove us wrong. Go tell
Yeah.
us like, oh, I'm not that old. I can still do this. Like, do it, man.
Good.
Please.
Good.
Go, please. If that's
Yeah,
what it takes to motivate you, or whatever it takes to motivate you, just go do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. The eye
And
test is telling us one thing.
My
Yeah,
ass will be the
exactly.
first person to admit I was so stupid. So please
I will
make me say I'm stupid.
I'll wear one of those hats with the propeller on the top of it for.
I
an
will look like
episode
the
if
biggest
Burns starts to
dumbass.
light
Like,
up.
it-
I will
just-
go buy. I'll find one. I'll buy one. I'll wear it on an episode. I don't care. I literally will. I'll do anything. Just prove me wrong
Just-
if you want. I don't
Yeah.
care.
So, anyways, I think we'll table it there with the pinwheel hat conversation. I think I agree with you both, though. Prove us wrong, because the eye test is telling us one thing, but we need you to tell us something different. So, anyways, so we'll close it for this week. Again, we thank everybody for listening. Anything you can do, share it with anybody, because more likes, more subscribers we have, the more content we can create and bring you more in the way of content. So we do thank you again, and until next week, take care.
All right.
Did you wrap? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.